Is Instagram dead? Is it dying? I get these questions all the time. And as you'd guess from the Instagram logo in the background here, I work with Instagram a lot, every single day, in fact. So I get this question all the time. So I figured I'd make a dedicated video to answer the question once and for all. Is Instagram dead / is Instagram dying? If you're new to the channel, my name's Ben, and I'm a full-time social media strategist. So I help people grow on Instagram and YouTube every single day. And on this channel, I post weekly videos to help people like yourself do the same. So if you're interested or looking to do that, be sure to click the subscribe button and then hit the bell button as well so that YouTube actually shows you my videos. So given what I do every single day and what I do professionally, I feel very equipped to answer this question for you and explain to you, is Instagram dead or is it not? And to do that, we're gonna explain exactly where Instagram is. We're gonna explain how it got there and then where it's going so that you can make the best decision for you as to if Instagram is worth your time in 2021 or not. To do this, let's hop into the whiteboard. So we're into the whiteboard right now and you can see a big SM here, and that stands for social media. And that's here because the majority of social media platforms follow a near identical product lifecycle, and Instagram is no different. So we're gonna chart this out and explain the different stages so that you can understand exactly where Instagram is right now. So it typically starts off pretty slow for a new social media platform, and then it really starts to pick up, and then there's a peak and a slow gradual decline, unless you're someone like MySpace where you just fall off a cliff. And this can be divided into 3 different sections, right here, and then that creates 3 different sections. So the first one is L, and that stands for launch. So this is really when you're figuring out the product and really getting it off the ground. The next stage is growth, so G for growth, and the next stage is P for profit. So to explain briefly the different stages, L is where you're really figuring out the platform. You're really trying to get a proof of concept here and figure out exactly what the platform is, its reason for existing, and what makes it unique. So here, obviously, the fundamental reason why Instagram existed was a photo sharing platform, but you have to take that a step further because they weren't the first photo sharing app. So what made them different was the filters. So if anyone remembers back in the day, what was mind blowing back then was that they gave you very basic filters for your photos and people went crazy for that. So that was what they really focused on during the launch phase. And that's all about the user experience. So why does it exist and what can we give them that makes it a unique place for the reason why it exists and to make it more of a destination? If you successfully get through there, you can then move into the growth phase. A lot of platforms won't ever get past launch because they don't prove the concept enough to warrant the time, effort, money, and resources necessary to do growth the right way. And why growth is so important, or why the G phase is so important, is because a social media platform is only as valuable as its user base. And that means the size of the user base and how much time the users are spending on the app. That is the biggest thing, the only thing that matters when it comes to a social media platform and what it is worth. So here during this phase, they're obsessed with getting people on the platform. They need to make this place a destination. So during this time, it's really viewed as like the heyday of the platform. This is what people look back on. So a lot of people complaining about how Instagram used to be, this is that time. This is the best time to be on the platform. The easiest time to grow and the most reach to be had will be during the launch phase, but the best time to grow is during growth for a few different reasons, which I'll explain. So there's a few great things going on during the growth phase. The first and most important and most obvious one is that reach is at a great and very high level. So it's very easy to come by. So simply by posting, you're going to grow. And people literally say that. They're like, oh, I used to post back in the day and I post anything and it would grow. That's because we were during the growth phase. So this is a great time to be on the platform. Unfortunately, surprise, surprise, this time is now gone on Instagram. So reach is at an all-time high. Its user base is higher, but it's growing. It's still at a slow, steady rate, meaning it's not saturated and it's still a great time to be on the platform. It's still possible to start right now during the growth phase and still benefit from the increased reach because we haven't reached a level of saturation here and they're still refining out the product. So there also is a core emphasis on features. So this is where they're really trying to build off of the main reason why they existed over here and really make it more of a refined product to make it more of that destination. So for here, think about DMs, stories. They want to get as many touch points or as many things that you would want to do as possible. They want to make sure you can do it in this app so that you spend more time on there. That's the whole focus here. So this takes a ton of money, ton of time, ton of resources. It's great for the creators because the reach is so high, but that's also done strategically. The super high reach makes it a great place to creators. That brings people to the platform and it also creates celebrities, or the word that we've more appropriately deemed influencers, which creates people consistently creating content, which would be the influencers in most cases, and then a big consumer base that come to see the influencers content. And obviously there's so many different levels and ways of this, but that's the core emphasis explained in a very brief way. This is really the heyday. This is the prime time to be on the platform. For Instagram, this is about 2014 was like the prime, 2014 to about 2016. And then that 2016, 2017, maybe 2018 even was when they really tipped over and went into the final stage and where we're at right now, which is profit. And so So what this means for the platform is typically around this time, they also go public, which is Facebook was already public. But if they haven't been public, once they reach this point, they'll usually go public, which also means they now have to report to shareholders, which makes this even more important and the primary focus. So what this means for you as a user, reach goes down. Users are at an all-time high, meaning it's far more saturated and far more competitive. And I apologize for my brutal handwriting here. So reach is down, the user base is at an all-time high, so it's far more competitive, meaning for you, there's less reach to go around. And of that reach, it all comes down to authority. A platform at this stage, which would be Instagram, becomes totally authority driven. So what does that even mean? Let me explain. So authority driven means that there's authority decisions being made to decide what to show people, because there's less reach to go around and a higher user base, which makes it more important to keep them around. They are now more focused than ever to only show the right content to people. And because there's not as much to go around, they don't take chances on new creators as often. So authority can come in a few different ways. It's not strictly based on how many followers you have. They're also making the same sort of authority decisions on a post over post basis, which can compound over time. So some people accumulated their authority during the launch and growth phase, and they're able to ride that out. But it is still possible to grow during the profit phase and will be until the platform goes away, as long as you focus on this core element, because this is what's going to dictate who gets what traffic there is to be had. Don't forget to click the like button down below. You'll get yourself 7 years of good luck on Instagram simply for doing so, and it takes 2 seconds. Pretty sweet deal. Thank you. So now I'm going to break down what authority really means on Instagram in 2021, especially if you are a new or smaller page, because this has now become a necessity. And if you're not willing to do the things that we're going to outline here, Instagram probably isn't worth your time if you're looking to actively grow and do so consistently. So what it means, like I said before, it's not all about how many followers you have. They're just constantly making these sort of decisions as to who to show what. So when it comes to authority, the majority of the traffic on Instagram in general is going to go to the top 10% or so. And obviously these are very rounded numbers, but it's just for the sake of understanding. So the top 10% is going to get the vast majority of the traffic to go around. But in saying that, you're probably like, oh, well, Ben, won't that just go to everyone who has a ton of followers? That's not necessarily the case, because if you can't grow on a platform, the platform will eventually die. So there are still people growing on Instagram every single day, but they're doing the things necessary to get themselves into the top 10%. So what that means is you have to be hitting all of their authority metrics. So what this means is that to get into the top 10%, you have to be in the top 1% of content. So what I mean by the top 1% is because it is now at a point where the user base is an all-time high, it's also never been easier to create content. So the vast majority of people are making basically the same content. So you have to figure out a way, especially if you're new, to be in that top 1%. When you look at the pages that grow rapidly, they're either doing it off the back of money, but if they're doing it organically, 10 times out of 10, they're in the top 1% of content. So they're 1% different. They're that unique. They're giving them a reason to push their content because it's not like the masses. It's not like millions of people are doing. So think about ways that you can stand out. That's one of the major authority metrics. The next is the consistency piece. So you have to consistently be showing up to give yourself an opportunity. So if you are in that 1% being very unique and providing super valuable content, that may not even be enough right off the top because of how competitive Instagram is. So you then have to build trust with Instagram. So how you do that is by being in that 1% from a content perspective, then by further even putting yourself into a more narrow field or less competitive field by also showing up consistently. So it takes these two things, and slowly over time, that's going to build the authority for your page and your content and give you more opportunity for Instagram to promote you because they now have your trust and they only give their precious attention to who they trust. So if you're new, that comes down to top 1% content. So really think about the outliers, and this doesn't have to be necessarily better per se. I always say 1% different, not even necessarily better, just stand out. And with so many people making basically the exact same thing, think about how you can differentiate yourself in terms of how it's even presented or the value that's being given. Then consistency is very, very important because that's another way to differentiate yourself. And the other piece is focusing on what they care about. So understanding that your success on Instagram is going to be dictated by how Instagram views you, you need to be doing the stuff that they care about. Okay. So we have to think through the lens of Instagram. So what that means is think like them. So often in movies, when they're trying to catch a criminal, they try to get into the mind of a criminal. The same is true on Instagram. You got to get into the mind of Instagram. What are they obsessed with? And you want to do those things that they're currently focusing on. So understanding from the very beginning, they're obsessed with keeping people on the platform. You need to make content that is in the 1%. You need to do so consistently consistently, and the content should keep people on the platform. And it will do that if it's valuable content targeted to a specific group of people. So don't overthink that. But then in addition to this, what else do they care about? They care about their new features. This has been said 100 times before, but it is true. Whatever they're focusing on the most, they're going to reward people who normalize that the most by posting as frequently as possible. So this stuff, if you're not willing to do this stuff, then you could say that Instagram is dead. But in my opinion, it's not dead because this is true. And this will always be an opportunity because the majority of the people won't be willing to do what it takes to get in the top 1 or 10%. So in my opinion, Instagram is not dead. It's just harder than ever and more competitive than ever. So you have to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to gain that authority and put in the extra effort to actually do that? And that really dictates whether Instagram is a good or a bad use of your time and effort. But I want to know from you, what are your thoughts on the whole state of Instagram? Is it dead? Is it dying? Well, this is my opinion. I would love to hear yours in the comment section down below. If you're looking for some more help with growing on Instagram, I've linked my free Instagram checklist in the description box and the pinned comment that you can access completely for free that will give you a great framework to set your account up for success. If you struggle with how often to post on Instagram, be sure to check out this video that's about to pop up where I reveal the secret formula for growing on Instagram that was leaked directly from Instagram.